How's it going, everyone? This is Mitchell Mander here, and welcome to another review of the Pokemon Journey series. I just want to mention really quickly that I actually have a brand new microphone here, so let me know how it sounds. Anyways, let's talk about Pokemon Journeys episode 74, the return of our queen from the Sinnoh region, Dawn, and her adventure with Koharu in today's episode. How was the episode overall? Well, before I get into the review, you know the drill. If you're new to the channel, you like this type of content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It'd be pretty awesome if you did that. So anyways, let's get on to the review, shall we? So this episode begins with Team Rocket, as in the Matori Matrix, attacking Cresselia, and it crash lands in a forest, and Darkrai also emerges as well. And as a result, a lot of people in the Sinnoh region are experiencing nightmares and are having trouble sleeping, and it's causing a lot of trouble. So, Professor Sakuragi sends Ash and Go to investigate. Meanwhile, Koharu returns from school. Turns out that she's on summer break now? So, she's actually been looking forward to her vacation with her family. But Professor Sakuragi over here has some pretty bad news. Despite the fact that this guy has infinite money, he's actually invested in this egg that's supposedly about to hatch. Despite the fact that Renji and Kikuna could actually watch over the egg, he wants to be there when it hatches, so he can't go on vacation right now. And Koharu's mother actually got an illustrator job, so yeah, she can't go as well. And her little brother doesn't care, and he's actually going on his own, so Koharu's like, screw it, I'm going on my own, I'm going on my own journey. I'm just leaving you guys behind, and I'm taking off to the Sinnoh region. So you have several things being set up in this episode. So for Ash and Go, they're in the Sinnoh region because they're doing some investigating on what's going on with everybody having these nightmares. They suspect that Darkrai is involved here. And I like the fact that there's a little continuity nod here. It's very subtle, but the fact of the matter is Ash actually mentions that Darkrai is very strong in battle. Pretty much referencing his battle with Tobias back at the Sinnoh League. I like to not think about that battle, but you know what? It's a nice continuity nod, so whatever. So anyways, they're in the Sinnoh region doing their research. You have Koharu, who's in the Sinnoh region as well. She's traveling on her own for the first time. She's doing her own vacation. You have that going on. But you also have Team Rocket over here. Now Matori and her gang, they're already in the Sinnoh region pursuing Cresselia and Darkrai. So they contact Jessie, James, and Meowth, and she wants them to take on the mission and catch these Pokemon. She does this so that, yeah, either way, if this mission fails or is a success, she's not involved whatsoever. If they're successful, Jessie, James, and Meowth will be promoted, but if they fail, they'll be in big trouble, and Matori will actually get away with it. Now, the thing I thought was pretty cool after Koharu landed in Sinnoh is that she's watching this TV, and it turns out that a top coordinator in the Sinnoh region is being interviewed, and it's none other than Dawn's mother. Yeah, that is actually really nice. Turns out there's going to be a contest being held in Aretha City. And Koharu actually asked if Eevee's interested in contests. So they actually want to go and see this contest going on in Aretha City. So that's also another continuity nod, as we have Dawn's mother appearing in the episode before Dawn herself makes a reappearance. Crazy, huh? Now Koharu was originally going to take a bus to Aretha City, but Eevee wants to walk there, so Koharu agrees to this, and yeah, they get into some trouble. They immediately run into some Starly right outside the city, and they get attacked by the Starly, thanks to Eevee and its mischievous behavior. They end up running away, and then they get rained on, so, you know, a double whammy there. And by the time the rain subsides, the day is pretty much over, but she gets a nice view of this lake. It's actually a pretty view, if I'm being completely honest here. But anyways, the day is pretty much over, so Koharu and Eevee decide to camp out here and make some soup. It looks like some pretty good soup. It's so good so that it actually attracts Piplup over here, and Dawn chases after Piplup. And that's when we get the return of our girl Dawn. Now I gotta say I love this conversation between Koharu and Dawn as part of the episode. They're sitting at the campfire, they're basically becoming friends pretty quickly. And Dawn's talking about herself and her goal of becoming a top coordinator. And she talks about how she's competed in contests in the Sinnoh region, in Unova, and Johto, so she's completed her contest in Johto now. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, she's back in Sinnoh to compete in this contest in Aretha City, which Koharu is heading off to, so they agree to travel with one another. The interesting thing here is that Dawn actually encourages Koharu to pick up contests, or at least try them out. she's never tried them before, so it'd actually be something that might be worthwhile for Koharu, which I love. I love this moment. I love the fact that Dawn is doing this. And I'll talk about this more once we get past the summary portion of the episode review. But anyways, they become friends pretty quickly, and they decide to travel with one another to Aretha City, since Dawn's going there to compete in the contest and Koharu is there to watch the contest. But I also like the fact that Koharu actually asks Dawn if she's traveling alone or if she just normally travels alone. And actually she brings up, yep, I've been with friends before, but when I traveled in Sinnoh, I was in a group of 3. And I just love that, because Koharu has no idea who was traveling with Dawn during her time in Sinnoh. Pretty neat, huh? Now the next day comes, and these 2 girls have one thing in common for sure. It's the fact that they don't like their hair getting messed up, which Pipluff saves the day by using Bubble Beam to bring their hair back to normal. Nice going, Pipluff. But anyways, they head out on their journey, and Koharu basically tells Dawn that, hey, if we keep going this way and we make no stops, we'll make it to the Pokemon Center, we'll be able to spend the night there instead of camping outside, which Dawn agrees to, but then she starts getting distracted. She sees a pond, basically a spring pond, and then she sees a couple Pokemon, and then she starts climbing trees. She starts getting distracted by all this stuff. Koharu at first is okay with it, but as time goes on, she starts to get a little bit more annoyed with Dawn, basically distracting them. But Dawn assures her that it's going to be fine, no need to worry. But unfortunately, the entire day just goes by super fast. And this really annoys Koharu, as Dawn's like, oh yeah, everything will be fine, no need to worry. But Koharu was over here like, there's absolutely every reason to worry. We're not fine. Now we have to camp out here. And then the 2 girls are basically at odds with one another, and they basically quarrel for a little while. Now while the 2 of them are still bickering, a Rhydon shows up out of nowhere while they're walking around the forest. And it's a very sleep-depraved Rhydon at that. And they try battling it. And at first, Eevee's not doing so hot. So Dawn steps in, has Pipluff use Bubble Beam, but Pipluff actually takes some damage here. And then Eevee uses Copycat to copy Bubble Beam and actually hits Rhydon, putting it to sleep, which shocks Dawn, who's surprised that Eevee was able to learn Bubble Beam just like that. But anyways, before the 2 girls could figure out what else is going on, they actually spot a Pokemon that's actually in the forest just by itself. That's when they realize they've come across a wounded Cresselia. Now for Ash and Go, they've been doing some investigating. They actually talk to Officer Jenny, and they get no leads on their investigation. They end up falling asleep, and they have a nightmare that they're actually part of Team Sakuragi, in which Kikuna and Renji over here recite the Team Rocket theme, but instead of being Team Rocket, they're Team Sakuragi. And Professor Sakuragi is the evil mastermind of everything that's going on, and they're going to conquer the planet with all the Pokemon that is in the Sakuragi labs. And that's when Ash and Go wake up from their nightmare. They run outside, and they actually end up running into Darkrai, which confirms their suspicions that Darkrai was involved. Which is pretty interesting, because it normally doesn't leave its own island, but yeah, it's been kind of just striking all over the Sinnoh region at various different spots. But they eventually pinpoint it to this forest that it's hovering around. And as Ash and Go are heading there, they're actually heading to the same location that Koharu and Dawn are at. And that's pretty much where the episode ends, so Ash didn't get to meet Dawn again in this episode. So it's to be continued with next week's episode, episode 75. Now overall, I thought this was a great episode. What a fantastic episode to reintroduce Dawn back into the Pokemon Journey series. And not only that, it was a great episode for Koharu, as she was essentially the star of this episode. I'm not gonna lie, it felt like Ash and Go were basically just, side characters in this episode. Obviously, they're playing an important role in this whole plotline going on, but it really felt like Koharu was coming to her own in this episode, which was really nice to see. But for me, the obvious highlight in this episode is Dawn and Koharu's interactions throughout the latter half of this episode. I love them. From them becoming quick friends, to them bickering for a little bit, to eventually, making up. And then it leads pretty nicely into next week's episode. I loved it, and I think it was a good idea to have Koharu meet Dawn before Dawn reunites with Ash, because we obviously want to set up Koharu and her meeting Dawn and getting to know her. before Ash, comes into the picture. So she's going to be in for a surprise next week when she realizes that Ash and Dawn know one another. But the best thing to come out between these two in this episode is the fact that Dawn actually encouraged Koharu to try out contests. And I love this. This is exactly what I want to see in an interaction between Koharu and a previous traveling companion of Ash's. Earlier in Journeys, I thought maybe talking to a previous traveling companion would help Koharu warm up to Ash a little bit more. But now, as time has gone on, she's already warmed up to Ash anyways. But the thing about it is, Koharu doesn't have a goal in life. She doesn't know what she wants to do. She's just unsure of what she wants to do. So, a previous traveling companion of Ash's, being goal-oriented, just like Ash himself, could actually encourage Koharu to actually pursue a goal. Maybe try something out, and that's what Dawn does here. Encourages her to try out a contest. Evie actually seemed to be interested in contests earlier in the episode, when Evie was watching that interview on the TV screen of Dawn's mother. So maybe Koharu could try out a contest in the future, and maybe she tries it out. Maybe she ends up liking it and decides to pursue contests, and maybe wants to be top coordinator of a certain region. Maybe top coordinator of Kanto, for example. And even if Koharu actually ends up enjoying contests, there's still a chance that she might not actually like it. She realizes that, hey, I tried this out, but it's not for me. I feel like this would be a good first step for Koharu's development, because she could try different things from now on. Maybe she becomes a little bit more ambitious because of her experience in contests, and she tries different things until she figures out her goal in life. And not only that, other traveling companion of Ash's could influence her as well. She could talk with May, who's also a coordinator, and then May encourages her to figure out her goal in life and figure out something else besides being a top coordinator. Or talks with Serena and talks with her about performances. Maybe Koharu tries out performances, for example, and she either likes it or ends up realizing that's not for her. There's multiple different avenues that Koharu could take, and I feel like talking with some previous past companions of Ash's could actually help her and encourage her to figure out her own path in life. The whole point of her character is that she doesn't have a goal right now. She doesn't know what she wants to do. She's expected to follow in her father's footsteps. But the point of her character is not to follow in her father's footsteps, but to forge her own path and figure out what she wants to do in life. And she's going to do that with her Evie by her side. Now, besides continuity nods being sprinkled in throughout this episode, another thing I have to appreciate about this episode is the fact that it's part of a 2-episode arc. And I gotta say, I appreciate this big time. You just see how things are being fleshed out in this week's episode, and how they're going to be potentially executed in next week's episode. I think that this episode did a fantastic job setting up everything that's about to happen in next week's episode, and I think they're handling this whole arc really well. And I'm hoping for future arcs they do the same thing. Like when a character returns like May, Serena, Clement Bonnie, Brock and Misty, any returning characters, I would like to see 2-parters. I don't want to see a singular episode for these characters coming back. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for this video. So overall, I thought this was a fantastic episode. I'm giving it a solid 9.5 out of 10. In the comment section down below, post your thoughts. Did you love this episode? Did you hate it? I'd like to know what you thought. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And also, let me know how the new mic sounds. Do you like it? Just let me know. Anyways, guys, I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day or night where you're at, and peace.